Good morning and welcome to Don't Worry G Happy. My name is Giles, and what I would like to do is to continue from my previous video, which was the 13 steps for us to help maintain our mental health at this difficult time. So what I'd like to talk about more today is finances and how we can financially plan to give us put us in the best possible position over the next few months with our mental health. So here goes. Number one. This is for people with mortgages. There are many of us with mortgages, and there are many mortgage providers currently offering support by way of offering us a 3-month holiday from payments. So we won't be penalised for this. It won't affect our credit history. The payments will be added on to the to the term of the mortgage. But many companies are offering this support and this advice. So I would urge anybody that if they're facing financial difficulty and they have a mortgage, for this to be the first course of action. Secondly is for those that are renting. Now, in the first instance, what I would advise you to do is to approach your landlord and see whether they are able to make a more affordable payment plan for the months ahead. So it's all about affordability, and ultimately it's all about communication. So you contact the landlord and see whether there's any way that they can reduce the payment or put you onto some a more affordable plan that you're going to be able to afford for the coming months. Now, in the second instance, if this isn't possible and we've tried to communicate with the landlord, we've tried to approach the landlord and they're not being amicable or it's proven very difficult to form any form of negotiation with them, then don't panic. That's first. The government are currently putting in place an emergency legislation that basically prevents landlords for within this next 3 months to be able to proceed with evictions. So don't panic. New legislations are being brought forward now to certainly secure us for the next 3 months, and then this is going to be evaluated after the 3-month period. So if after communication we're not able to get a payment plan or they're not being amicable or they're not then don't panic, because you're not just going to be literally kicked out on the streets. So that's point number 2. Point number 3 is, we discussed yesterday, we touched on setting up a new routine and setting up a new daily plan. So this coincides with that, and it's for all of us to, again, look around the home. We've all got cupboards and drawers, understairs cupboards, maybe wardrobes, garages potentially, a shed, or even in the loft. And many of us will have an accumulation of potentially years worth of items that we don't use on a regular basis that we could potentially do to clear out. So we could set up three piles. For example, we could set up a pile for the charity shop, and the second pile could be for a car boot that we can put into storage when we're able to go out and do those and sell through that method. And the third pile would be for, say, eBay. eBay is still currently totally operational. We're still able to use it and parcel our items off and send them. So if we can go through, there's going to be many items that are in demand. For example, I personally have got 2 children that I'm homeschooling. We're getting through a lot of craft. We're getting through a lot of books and activities and board games and jigsaws. So if you have any of this stuff and you don't use it, get a picture, put it on eBay. There'll be a feral demand for that sort of thing, and literally anything. Tool-wise, DIY is really popular at the moment. So if you've got any old tools or anything that you feel might be of benefit to those working on DIY projects, get them parceled together, get them photographed, get them on eBay, and turn them into some cash and money that we can put back in the pot to keep us going over this difficult time. Point number 4 is, if you are a crafter or somebody that enjoys working with their hands at home, perhaps making handmade cards or doing sewing projects or painting, then look to turn these skills into some money. So we're all finding it extremely difficult, and all these we need cheering up. So any kind of like pick-me-up gift or token gift or something that makes us feel good. You know, if we're able to, if we do have a skill set and we're able to make these crafts, there are plenty of platforms online that we can use to sell these, whether it be eBay or Etsy or Amazon or not on the high street. There's many sites that we can use to set ourselves up and be a little business and you know and to help these skills generate some some more income for us. So point number 5 is, if we have credit cards or loans or car finance or ongoing financial commitments, if we can approach these companies and explain to them the situation that we're in and that we are under financial difficulty, work with them to try and arrange a more affordable payment plan, or ask if there's any potential to go on some form of payment holiday. I've been surprised by the level of generosity by many companies that have kind of approached me and said, if you're struggling with this, please let us know. If you're struggling with that, whether it be the mortgage or the car or whatever it be, there is a huge network of support that's been put out there, and we need to, if there's help available and we need the help, it's important that we really do take it. So number 6, this relates to something that again I touched on my previous video. You've probably all seen over the space of the last 2 to 3 weeks, people panic buying and buying in bulk and buying over the next, buying and storing food for the next 3 to 4 months. The problem is now is that we're seeing a lot of food go to waste. We're seeing a lot of food go to landfill. Plus, it's the affordability. People are paying for this food on credit cards and getting into debt. So, I would encourage people strongly not to bulk buy and to buy only what we need and what we would have ordinarily bought prior to the pandemic, to feed ourselves and our family. So it's just being reasonable and not buying unnecessarily. So that's point 6. Point 7, this is in relation to mobile phones, and many providers are offering either free calls or sometimes free calls and free data. So what I touched on before is about the importance of us all keeping in contact with each other regularly on a daily basis, whether it be via phone call or via email or via FaceTime, or it's important that we really all do keep in contact with each other. So some network providers, it's worth checking with your own provider whether it's something that's available to yourselves, but something definitely worth looking into. So number 8, this is another fairly considerable cost to people on a monthly basis, and that is council tax. Some of the councils now are starting to offer support packages where they are offering people more flexible terms, possibly looking at reducing payments or even potentially a payment holiday. So it's worth contacting your local council online and seeing whether you may be able to get some assistance with the council tax. Point number 9, this is in relation to if you bought any tickets for sort of events or concerts or even travel, so it could be a rail ticket or something like that. Look at the possibility of getting refunded on these tickets and purchases, because it's all money that needs to go back, that we can put back into the pot to rebuild our financial stability. Point number 10, Boris Johnson spoke about this recently, and it's universal credit. Now, universal credit is available to many people who are either they've become unemployed or they're now finding themselves on a low income. And I believe from April, I think it's April the 6th, it's actually due to increase, and I think it's just over £400 per month per person. So it's certainly, if you go to www.gov.uk, there's more information about how you can apply for that, but it's something certainly worth looking into, the eligibility on that one. So number 11, go through a fully comprehensive list of all your incomes and outgoings, and go through bank statements and direct debit lists. Now, if there are any direct debits, any non-essential commitments, subscriptions or memberships, or any of the small luxuries that that we would use ordinarily, look to prune these down. Look and think to yourselves, do we really need this? And if we're not paying for a gym membership, we don't need to be paying for it. We need to be asking the gym to freeze this, or we need to be looking at all of these non-essential subscriptions and memberships and really pruning them down. So number 12, this applies to people with savings. Basically, if there's anybody that has savings in fixed savings accounts that would ordinarily be charged for accessing these, or penalised for accessing these, majority of banks now are waiving this penalisation, so that if you really need to access these savings, for those of us that have them, they're taking away the penalisation and charge for doing that to give us better access to money. 13. This is, again, it coincides with the banking. I would encourage anybody, if at all possible, not to get into any further debt moving forward. Hence why it's so important that we take this financial plan as an urgency and deal with it from day one, so that we can really get it in routine, really get it working alongside our other routines that we've talked about. So, and that is to approach the banks, and if we do need to use an overdraft facility, is to ask whether they would be prepared to do this on a zero interest, at least for the sort of next 2 to 3 months, to give us some breathing space. So that's pretty much it for now. I hope that some of these points have been useful to some people, and I appreciate it's an extremely difficult time for all of us, and financial strain and financial burden is something that it can be significant to those that do suffer with mental health, illness and anxiety. So I hope that some of it's been useful, and I do hope to create more content, which I will bring within the next within the coming days, as hopefully a way to try and support those that are suffering. And what I will say is something that I said in the last video, and I believe is more important than all of this, and that is that this will pass, and we will get over this, and to treat this as being a blip, to treat this as just something that's it's here, it's now, it's current, but it's not forever, and we will get over this, and we will recover. And it's very important that we take the time to look forward to the positive things that we will be able to do once we are over this hurdle. But in the meantime, I wish everybody the very best, and to stay positive. And if you've liked the content, please like, share and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you all again very soon. Take good care. Bye for now.